Hey guys, Julian here with another romance anime review to conclude our romance anime month. Alright, so what will it be this time then? A wacky one, a messy one, or a good story? Or is this gonna be one of those incomplete romance stories? Come on, take your pick. Well, you know, I wanted to end the month off with a really kind of something soothing and peaceful kind of romance anime. So I was kind of looking at A Lull in the Sea. I mean, I guess it'll do. Isn't it a little complex with all of its like weird love triangle-ness in it? I mean, don't get me wrong, it looks really nice, but can our viewers handle it? Well, you're just gonna have to find out. So in today's anime review, we're gonna be taking a look at the complicated A Lull in the Sea. A Lull in the Sea has amazing visuals. Off the bat, this was the first thing I noticed. Like, it fit so nicely with the whole under the sea theme. It was honestly beautiful. But let's talk more about the background of this anime first. Long ago, all humans lived beneath the sea. However, some people preferred the surface and abandoned living underwater permanently. As a consequence, they were stripped of their God-given protection called Enna, which allowed them to breathe underwater. Over time, the rift between the sea people and the surface dwellers widened. Although contact between the two people still existed, they were still quite hostile towards one another. You know, I'm pretty sure you just described a mermaid with this whole Enna thing, you know? Because they can breathe underwater and they're kind of human-like. You know, the only thing they're kind of missing are the tails. Huh. Kind of like almost like My Bride is a Mermaid. But they don't have tails, and there's no real, like, Yakuza really in this. So, alright, fine. I can dig that they have this enana, that they can, like, breathe underwater and stuff. It just seems like they're mermaids, more or less. You aren't wrong with the whole mermaid idea, but let's just run with the idea that they're people that can breathe underwater with God-given powers, okay? Let's just drop it there, no tails, nothing, all right? So the anime follows 4 children from Tsushishio that now must go to school above the sea, as they're kind of like the only children left in the schools down there, so it was more easier if they just, actually, it was a lot easier if they had just joined the schools above ground and went to children with the island dwellers. While Hikari, Kaname, Chisaki, and Manaka have to adjust to living on the surface. Ugh. But as much as they are met with a bit of hostility and lack of understanding, they do get along with them eventually, and they try to revive some of the old traditions. But trouble comes their way when Tsushishio becomes frozen. I mean, talk about an icy ending. Being left out in the cold. Like some of those romances out there, right? Just getting hit with that breezy ice cold when your crush rejects you. Ouch. Okay, come on. It's not gonna end that way, alright? Like, they're not just gonna leave Tsushishio frozen. Come on, they have to save the day. But along the way, the children fall in love. And that's where things start to get interesting, to me at least. I'm a romance kind of guy, so this is the kind of stuff I liked. And this series doesn't just have like one love triangle, there's kind of like a few going on. So aside from the whole magical, spiritual aspect and traditional aspect of this anime, there is a huge romance side to this. And that's why I really love this series, because it honors the traditions of the old way with the whole spiritual aspect, as well as bringing a bit of a modern day twist to this. Which, again, I always love to see, by the way. Like, I love to see Japanese storytelling tell stories of romance and how they blend Japanese tradition in it as well. Like, they don't want to lose that part, which I think is great with their stories. But let's head on to Romance Corner so we can talk more in depth about these relationships. Alright guys, like I said, it's Romance Corner time, and I'm gonna start Romance Corner off with my favorite, absolute favorite couple of this series. Tsumugu and Chisaki. Again, I'm only talking about the actual confirmed couples in this, so I'm gonna dive in to a bit of what the love triangle is around this. So Kaname actually has a huge crush on Chisaki, and it seems that Chisaki in the beginning kind of also likes Hikari. But, I mean, as time goes on, she is actually one of the only ones to not be frozen, so she and Tsumugu end up living together. I like it because he doesn't quite know how to convey his feelings. She's kind of torn because she's always been in this whole motherly role. And eventually, once he breaks through to her, I really like them. I guess it's because they also are more mature by the time they fall in love. Like, they aren't just kids anymore because time has passed. So we get to see them grow up, and it's a more mature love, which is what I kind of liked. And now talking about Kaname, with Kaname now losing out on his crush, who's he left to love? Well, Sayu initially had a small crush when she was such a little child, but now due to the time gap, they are the same age, and Sayu still has that crush on Kaname. Now, while at the end of the anime it's not confirmed that they became a couple, Kaname does kind of open his mind to the idea of Sayu falling in love with him, and might actually entertain the idea of going out in the future. So while they aren't an official couple, I do think that there is potential there, and it's more likely that they did end up actually becoming a couple. Now, another one is Itaru and Hikari. Now, there's no real love triangle going on between these guys, but Itaru initially married another woman from Tsushishio who has passed away, who gave birth to Muna. So he's a single dad with one daughter, and Hikari comes into it, falls in love with Itaru. And yes, there's a bit of a bumpy relationship initially with them in terms of everyone accepting them, but eventually Hikari does end up being accepted and can marry the person that she loves. And Muna eventually gets around the idea of accepting her stepmom, which I think is quite a beautiful thing to see. So with their relationship finally getting the approval, at the end, they end up having their own kid together. So Muna ends up having a little brother. But let's talk about the more complicated relationship, Hikari and Manaka, who ends up at the end of the half becoming frozen as she ends up becoming the sacrifice. But Hikari will stop at nothing to get her back, and when she has lost all of her memories and lost the ability to love, he is not gonna give up on her. And he kind of believes that Manaka is actually in love with Tsumugu, which actually isn't quite the case. It is actually later to reveal that she actually does love Hikari back. So that wasn't an actual love triangle, but ended up coming around just nicely. And Hikari obviously loves Manaka, so by the end of the series, they also end up becoming an official couple. But one couple I didn't quite like the idea is that Muna actually fell in love with Hikari, and this was before his sister actually got married to her dad. So at the time, great, it's a little cute crush romance when she was a child, but when her stepmom marries her dad, they're now technically siblings. Well, okay, they're not siblings because eventually due to the time gap, they become the same age. Technically, it's her niece, and it's his niece, her uncle. I'm not a fan of those kind of relationships, so I am glad that they course corrected. And Muna actually does have a character, a guy actually ends up confessing his love to her, and she ends up turning him down. So it's not like Muna can't find love. So I hope we didn't get to see this, but I hope she does end up finding love properly after the story. But guys, it's time for the 3 reasons why you should be watching this anime. Number 1, it's a drama. I mean, okay, not every romance is dramatic, but dear God, the sheer amount of drama that goes into this one, it blew me. Like, it was crazy. You mean, like, they're all human. Why can't they fall in love? And the fact that, oh my God, I can't bear to tell this person I love them. Oh, but you can't fall in love with an island dweller because you're a sea dweller. Oh my God. There's just so much drama going on with the history, which kind of ties into number 2, that number 2, it's traditional. Because of tradition, it brings up a lot of drama, We had this tradition, we had to have this festival, we have to give thanks. And I think that's what makes it so great, is that we got to see romance tied with a spiritual aspect, which I can't say in a lot of the anime reviews that I've done so far has had this aspect. I mean, it had stunning visuals, but what really made it great for me is just its deep-rooted history that it had. It had this great backstory to, yes, this was what happened modern day, but this is what happened in the past, and this is how we got here. And they had to deal with the mistakes of the past and deal with tradition so that romance could flourish modern day. Which, of course, number 3 is the romance in it. Oh my God, with all these different love triangles going on, it is truly romantic, and we get to see very different types of love, right? We get to see people that aren't that great at expressing it. We can see people that have grown up together. We can see people that are childhood friends. We can see how people can grow to love one another. And sometimes when you find love in unexpected places, right? There are so many angles of love in this series. I mean, we get to see a mother join a family that she becomes the stepmother and gets her daughter to love her as well. I mean, yes, there is romantic love in this, but there is also family love that we get to see. And it really tackles all of these kinds of loves in so many different ways. And that's why I think this is a great anime for all of you guys to go out and watch. Well, that is one heck of a ride. And I hope with all of the spirits, they can find love and find peace in the end. And I hope the children end up living happily ever after. I mean, I wish them all the best. I know there wasn't quite an epic log like I hoped, but dang, it was a complete story that we got to see full circle, and we got to see just how difficult it is to fall in love sometimes. And even children can love. I mean, it's not like they're too young. At least in this story. Who knows about real life? Anyway, guys, thank you guys all for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, apologies for any mispronunciation. And I hope to see you guys all in the next video. Take care now. Alright guys, those are our 3 romance anime reviews for the month of February, since it was the month of love. Next month we are returning to our any genre of anime, so stay tuned for more videos coming soon on Fridays.